Okay, welcome to the final video for the Designer 1 for Curriculum 5018. We've talked about digital literacy and then about learning theory that helps us make decisions for visual design. This video is going to go into some technical steps for creating a really simple website so that you can put those skills from digital literacy and learning theory into practice. So the first thing I just want to briefly discuss is where data is stored. So data includes files, videos, pictures, text files, programs, all that stuff is data. It's actually encoded in zeros and ones in your computer. So if you were to copy a link to something to share it with someone, it could begin with HTTP, HTTPS, or C or D on another letter. It's really important to know the difference because that is going to depend on who's going to be able to actually access the information. So with HTTP, it's going to be on the internet, or sometimes we call that the cloud. And then C or D, it's actually on your device. So when we say the cloud, it's not actually in the cloud. It's on a physical server that's owned by some company. A lot of companies use Amazon for their servers. Other large companies will have their own servers. So I'm pretty sure that Google and Microsoft OneDrive and Dropbox probably have their own servers. And they're storing that information on these devices that can be accessed 24/7 on the internet. However, whether or not you can access it varies by the security features and whether or not it's been shared by certain accounts. And so whenever you share something on the cloud, you have to make sure that the accounts work. And that's going to be important for websites. I'll show you in a minute. On your device, if it's C or D or something, that means it's almost always only available on your physical device, unless there's some work network or something. And so if you were to send someone else a link that starts with this, C or D or another letter, they won't be able to access it because it's not on the internet that's open 24/7. It's only on a physical device. So what happens when we have a whole bunch of stuff on the cloud like this is they're stored on a server, like I was saying, that owns by Amazon or Google or whomever. The client is your computer. And what happens when you go on the internet is you send a request to the server to get some sort of file or information, and the server sends it back. And when you're using a web browser, it's going to have a HTML or CSS or some type of file format, and it's going to send it back to your browser, and your browser decodes that and shows it to you on your computer in the nice visual format that it is. So here's kind of a backwards if we're starting with the website here. A website is just a collection of files and code. And the codes are most commonly HTML and CSS and sometimes JavaScript. And that code is stored on that server that's accessible 24/7. So when the client computer requests from the server, they send these files of code and your browser decodes it and shows you the nice image. So when you want to create a simple website, the cool thing is that while it used to be that you had to know how to write the code for like HTML and CSS and such, now there's a lot of nice programs that will create that code for you. So you can just work on a visual interface. So in order to create a simple website, the first thing is to choose a service for the creation and the server storage. So again, that's the creation. I'm going to use usually some type of visual interface that's going to create the code for me, and it has to store that on a server that's accessible 24/7. Another dimension of this is actually getting your domain name, which I'm not going to go into here, but that's another part of it. If you're interested, you can look that up. So the types of programs that give you the coding and the server space are like Google Sites, Weebly, Mobirise, Squarespace, Wix. Google Sites is a really good place to start. The only tricky thing with Google Sites is that you really have to watch permissions on who can access what, because it's made as a tool that can work within a smaller organization rather than just open to everyone. So you have to really check permissions. I've used both Weebly and Wix lately, and I think I generally like Weebly a little better, but these are all good. They all have free options where you can do a basic website for free, sometimes with branding, anything, but for our purposes, any of these will work. So once you choose the program, you're going to be creating the website from the back end. It's kind of like the backstage. So that's the program where you're going to create stuff and it's going to translate it into the code that's stored on the servers. So for example, if you're a nerd and you create websites for your family vacations, then this is what a background of a Google site might look like. I can change a whole bunch of information or styles or whatever I want on here. I can insert different layouts, text, images. I can insert things from my Google Drive. I can have buttons and maps and all kinds of stuff I can insert. Right here, I can see different pages. I can add a page here. In fact, at one time, we had a message page that's hidden, but I could add a test page right here. And that creates another link on top that I can go to. Okay, so this is the back end of my web page. Now, eventually, you're going to want to share your web page with someone else because that's the whole point. So you have to be careful because sometimes you can share it and the other person doesn't actually have permission to view it. So let me show you what that looks like. If I were just to take this code right here and I'm going to copy it, Control C. And I'm going to open, this is called an incognito window in Chrome. Sometimes it's called privacy mode or a privacy window. And what it is it's a window that's not signed into any accounts and it hasn't stored any of what we call cookies that tracks your accounts. So it's almost like this is just a fresh person, not you, anyone on the internet. This is what they would get. So if I paste that site, this is what they would get. They would be asked to sign in. Okay, that's because this back end of the website is connected to my account and you have to be signed into my account to see and work on this. Plus, I don't want to give out this anyway because then people will be able to edit all my stuff and that's not what I want them to see. So what I have to do is I actually have to publish the website and make sure that the sharing settings are appropriate so that other people can see it. Okay, so within Google Sites, there's actually a publish button. And when I publish it, it actually gives me a separate URL to the front end of the site. So if I go back to my This Is War page, I'm going to publish it. Now there's something really important to pay attention here. Right here when it says, and who can view my site, it's really important to keep that open to the public here. Sometimes if you're using a Google Drive that's connected to a school district or another organization, this will actually be restricted to people within your organization. So you need to go in there and specifically designate that it's open to the public. There are a couple school districts that won't let you do that. So in that case, you probably need to use your personal Google account, not connected to your school. But once I change and I make sure that anyone can view my site, I can put the web address here. So this first part of the web address, googles.com/view, is the same, but I can adjust this to whatever I want on the end. And my family likes the phrase, "This is war," so that's what I use. So then I'm going to take this whole thing right here and I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to click publish right here and publish it. Okay, so it's been published successfully. So I'm going to come back here and go into my incognito window and I'm going to paste that address and see if it works. Oh, it didn't quite work. Let's look at it again. Sometimes it takes a minute to work. Let's make sure that it's saved and it's set to anyone. And then let's try it again and see. This is why you test it. There we go. This time it worked. It just took a minute. So you can see now that this is my page and people can go to my different pages and such here. Now there's a problem here. Do you see this right here? This means that there's a piece of my website that is not open to the public. If I go back to my back end, I can see this is a family calendar, and so that's not available to anyone. So only people in my family are going to see that. But these other things I have open to anyone, so anyone can see that. Now let me show you one more thing. Let's say that I publish it, but I'm still working on it a little bit. I'm going to do test page 2, and I'm going to add that. Now, if I go back and I go to the same place and I try to look at it, test page 2 isn't on here yet because each change I make, I have to republish. So I can work on stuff, and then when I'm done working on stuff, I just need to make sure to publish it again to get it back to the front end. And done there. Okay, so those are the main things I need to do. Now, one more thing I want to show you. If you want to share with others, if you want to share a draft with people, you can actually add and share a link where people can come and help see this back end draft and collaborate with you. So I've done that before, where you collaborate with multiple people on a website. So you give them permission to view the back end. Okay. But it's just important to keep that difference in your head, that you've got the front end and the back end. All right. So once again, I'm going to take this search setting, and that's the front end site that I'm going to give to other people. And that will make it so that they can actually view it. Okay. I just want to show one more brief thing about this creating the website from the back end. So when I was showing you this, I showed you how there were different pages that there's different pages, and I can do links to different pages. So I can actually add a text box. Let's just add a text box here and say, read more here. And I can actually link this. And I can link it to another page on my site, so that the people can access it through here, or they can access it through here. Or I might have pages that I don't want on this top part. So that's why some of these is signups and messages. I have it set so that you can't actually see it in navigation. If I add show in navigation, it'll add it up here. But sometimes I do that if I'm just still playing with the page, or if it's just something I don't want to clutter the top with, reducing cognitive load. But it's important when you create a website to think about the different pages and how they're going to work together. So, for example, I might have a home page, and then that might link out to separate pages. It's like a blog and lesson plans and about you, and that might branch out to other pages as well. So this whole thing is my website, but I can create a lot of different pages that link out to other things. Another way to do this is to have multiple things together on the home page. I might have a blog, I might have about me or lesson plans, and then some of those might link out to other pages, but I might have quite a few things just down the center. Or sometimes it's popular these days to do a single page website where just everything's on the home page. So those are decisions to think about when you're creating your website. I'm just going to show you briefly my own personal website, the status it's in right now. I have this weird hybrid thing going, which I'm not sure if I like or not, but I have a single page. So this is kind of the single page up here. So if you scroll down, you can see each section of these. And when you get to a section, you can go off and see more information about each part if you want to, right? And I can just go to the different parts on the website here, etc. But I also have this up here for people who specifically want to see my CV. They can just click here. So I have a hybrid between having different pages and also having the one page where you can also just scroll down and see all the information. So just think about how you want your website to work. It's nice to be able to scroll sometimes so people don't have to click around too much. But sometimes it can become too much information on one page, which is kind of why I have buttons here to go to different places. But that's just kind of an overview of what to think about as you start your website. And again, I showed you this in the last video, but think about all these details when you're checking your design, making sure that these apply on your website to make the best design you can. All right, thank you for watching, and I'm excited to see your websites.